breakfast. SubhanAllah. I hope you will love it. The first dhikr we said, istighfar. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Or you can say astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayk, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayk. By the way, I'm going to say those 5 dhikr and I'm going to start quizzing you. I'll pick names and just say, tell me the 5 dhikr. So we got to pay attention. So this dhikr in Sahih Muslim, everybody knows this dhikr. Right after that we say, Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam, tabarakta yad al-jalal wal-ikram. Or you can say, Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam, tabarakta dal jalal wal-ikram. Both narration are valid, all traceable to the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So far, so good. By the way, these 2 here has to be done in a row. All the adhkar, you can do them wherever, in any order you like. But these 2 has to be done first. And by the way, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he used to lead salat, I want you to pay attention to the imam. When imam does this, he cannot turn, this is according to sunnah, until he finished those first 2. When he said, Allahumma anta salam, minka salam, then he turned and he looks this way. His face, this is how Rasulullah used to do it. So if you want to do something, let's say you want to do sunnah or want to leave, you have to get those 2 first. You have to get those 2 first. All right, here is the next one. Then the third one, لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير اللهم لا مانع لما أعطيت ولا معطي لما منعت ولا ينفع ذا الجد منك الجد. This is the third authentic dhikr you have to say after salat. You can say that, you can make this the 4th, the 5th. The point is, the first 6 adhkar that I'm teaching you are the most authentic adhkar. We explained this little detail and what those every word means last week and the week before. The third dhikr, لا إله إلا وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه له النعمة وله الفضل وله الثناء الحسن لا إله إلا الله مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون. And there is 3 La ilaha illallah in there, if you notice, just to help you memorize it. And again, I'm just wrapping up what I discussed last 4 weeks. Then we discussed last week the 5 versions of tasbih, wa tahmeed, wa takbir. Yes, 5 versions. Subhanallah, 33 times. Alhamdulillah, 33 times. Allahu Akbar, 33 times. And then you say, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. And we said this is one of the best dhikr after salat because Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, if you say that, then Allah will forgive all your sin, even if they were the size of the foam of the oceans. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's just one version. And there's other 5 versions that we discussed last week. I won't go over all of them because we want to dive into our topic today. All right. So that's the 5th dhikr. Last week, I also explained how to do dhikr by hand. What is version, right? We explained you can use your right hand followed by left hand. Or you can use right hand by itself. The 2 different opinions, they're all accepted, right? And we said how to do it. And I shared with you the movement, right? Like that. Or you can say this is all correct. Or you can say this is all enamel. Hadith Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he said, in al-enamel mustantaqat. That means this hand, they're going to speak for you. They're going to speak for you. And that's why we said, try to use your hand if you can. Use tasbihat only if you lose your account. If you can't keep track of the number, you can use tasbihat. But it's preferred to use your hand because the hand will be shaheed for you Yawm al-Qiyamah. And this is one of the strongest opinion. All right, we're going to dive in our favorite topic today, one of the most important verse of Quran. Why is it the most important verse of Quran? We're going to dive today, we're going to explain verse, ayah, word for word. Right? We're going to talk about the benefit of it. And the reason, just to go high level, you guys know the best surah of Quran. Fatiha, right? And we talk about Surah Ikhlas. Everybody knows Surah Ikhlas. Why Surah Ikhlas is considered a third of the Quran? Does anybody can tell me the answer? Why? Yes. MashaAllah, very good answer. Because Quran, the third of the Quran, it's about Allah. It's about Tawheed. That's why they said, if you want to know Allah, read Quran. Read Quran if you want to know Allah. It's all about Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the third of the Quran is all about Him, His attribute, His name. And that's why Surah Ikhlas is considered the third. Because it's all about Allah. That's why it's considered the third. It will give the third of the award of the Quran. Ayat Kursi, why is it considered the a'zamu ayah as the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the greatest verse in the Quran? Why? Because it has so many names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something, a secret I'm going to share with you. Any dua, any verse that has kalamullah, like attribute names, His attribute and His name, you will find so many awards. Even dhikr, even dua. You know, dua, Sayyid Istighfar. Allahumma anta rabbi la ilaha ant, khalaqtani wa ana abduk. It's all about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you describe Allah subhanahu, when you praise Him, when you glorify Him, you will notice right after that dua is accepted. Oh, this dua, it is the greatest dua. It's always because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is described in such a great way, in His tawheed, in His magnitude. That's why the dua is always has more value. All right, we're going to dive into the value of Ayat Kursi. The first hadith. Hadith narrated by Ubay ibn Ka'b. Ubay ibn Ka'b is one of the great scholars of Quran, by the way. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to him and he said, Ya Abal Mundir, O Abal Mundir, this is his nickname. Atadri ayu ayat min kitabillah ma'ak a'zam? Do you know the greatest verse? Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is asking Ubay ibn Ka'b. Ubay ibn Ka'b is the greatest scholar of Quran. Do you know the greatest verse of Quran? قال قلت الله ورسوله أعلم. Look at how humble he responded. And this is something we should learn. When someone asks about something, you don't say, oh, I know the answer. No, don't jump to answer. You just say, if you don't know, say, Allah a'lam. Allah knows best. This is something we should learn, to be humble. Especially when you talk to scholar, mashayikh, because everybody wants to give the answer. This guy, Abu ibn Ka'b radiallahu anhu, his response, Allah and His Prophet knows. Only Allah and His Messenger knows. Then Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he knows, because he's the scholar of, he asked him again, Ya Abu Mundir, atadri ayu ayatin kitabillah a'zam? Come on, Abu Mundir, come on, tell me. Basically what he's telling him, just tell me. What is the best verse of Quran? And then Ubay ibn Ka'b said, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. He gave him that. So what this, and then Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَضَرَبَ عَلَى صَدْرِهِ, like this, that means a form of praising him, right? And he said, لَا يَهَنِكَ الْعِلْمُ أَبَا مَنْظَرٍ. That means the knowledge will come to you. He make a dua for him. May Allah make knowledge come easy to you. That's what that means. But subhanAllah, what we learn from this hadith is that the Ayat Kursi, it is the greatest ayah. The greatest ayah of Quran, right? And the fact that you have to be humble when you're talking to someone more knowledgeable than you. And you always say, Allahu Alam. All right, the next verse, the next hadith. عن أبي أمامة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من قرأ آية الكرسي دبر كل صلاة لم يمنعه من دخول الجنة إلا أن يموت. I'm going to let you read this. So Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever reads Ayat Kursi at the end of every salat, mandatory salat, nothing will prevent him from entering Jannah except death. That means that you read Ayat Kursi right after each salat, Subh, Dhuhr, Al-Asr, and if you die, you go in Jannah. Subhanallah, may Allah make us among them. Ibn Qayyim said, this means أعظم الأيام أعظم الأوقات. That means if you read maybe الظهر and you forget العصر and you did المغرب, as long most of the day, most of your salat, you mention Ayat Kursi, you're good. Because you may forget sometime. But Ibn Qayyim, Ibn Taymiyyah said, معظم الوقت. If you just can do your best to say it more often, more frequently, then you're going to be good. The entire, subhanAllah, I'll talk more about Ayat Kursi. So what this hadith is telling us is another value. Besides being the greatest verse, it is also a way to get to Jannah. If you just stick to it after every salat. This hadith here about the story of Abu Hurairah and Shaitan, there's like 3 or 4 versions of it. There's a long version of it, which I'm not going to tell you. This is the concise version from Sahih Bukhari. The story goes like this. Rasulullah was assigned Abu Hurairah. He assigned Abu Hurairah to look after zakat. It was in Ramadan, and he asked him, it was food or something, but it was zakat, something that had to be given. So all the, believers were putting their zakat, gathering in the masjid of Prophet and then Rasulullah assigned Abu Hurairah to say, look after this zakat. So a person came to the Abu Hurairah one night while he was sleeping, and he found him, he's stealing some of that zakat. So Abu Hurairah caught him. He came a second day, the same thing, and he was giving him excuses, right? I don't have money, I have family, this, give me a break, whatever. But the Prophet ﷺ knew that person visited Abu Hurairah. So Rasulullah ﷺ was asking Abu Hurairah, so what happened to your visitor? And he was quizzing him. But I'm giving you a short version. On the 3rd night, when this person came, he said, I'm going to take you to the Prophet ﷺ. So the first time Abu Hurairah said, I'm going to take him from him. I said, no, please don't take me. I have family, I have this, I need, please let me take some of that zakat. The second night again. The 3rd night, Abu Hurairah said, no, now I'm going to have to take you to the Prophet ﷺ because you're stealing this from zakat. And then Abu Hurairah, this person said to Abu Hurairah, here is where you want to pay attention. What is said, read. And then he said, I'm going to tell you something that's going to benefit you. Just don't take me to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, when you go to the bed, recite Ayat Kursi, which is verse 255. For then Allah will send you a guard that will protect you all night long. And Shaitan will not come near you until the Fajr. This is what is this? Who's this person? It was actually Shaitan. Because when Abu Hurairah told Rasulullah about what this person told him and how Ayat Kursi will protect you all night, he said, Rasulullah he said, قال إنه قد صدق ولكن وهو كذوب. He has told you the truth, but he was a liar. And that is Shaitan, the one who came to you, the one who was stealing this zakat. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does this mean? That means if you want a protection all night, protection from Shaitan, from jinn, from any evil, read Ayat Kursi before you go to sleep. Make this a mandatory. So we learn 2 placements of Ayat Kursi, right? The first one we learn is after Salat, if you want to go to Jannah. The second one is where? Before you go to sleep. If you want a protection from Shaitan. And this is what I talk about in Khutbah Jum'ah. I said, if you want to hit Fajr, some with adhkar, you cannot miss, is this dhikr, Ayat Kursi. If you want to get up in Fajr, and you don't want a Shaitan to keep you asleep and give you all these promises, please do not overlook Ayat Kursi. Right. Okay, now we're going to dive into tafsir of Ayat Kursi. This tafsir, by the way, I'm going to give you just the basic, just the explanation of each word. Later on, inshallah, in our tadabbur of Quran, which will usually happen on Sunday night, I'm going to explain to you the cohesiveness and symmetry in this verse. It is absolutely amazing. And the placement of it in Surah Al-Baqarah and the connection of this Ayat Kursi to the verses before it and to the verse after it, and why Allah placed Ayat Kursi in Surah Al-Baqarah, all that we'll explain it later on in the future on Sunday lectures. Today I'm going to give you just the basic and why Ayat Kursi, it is the A'zam, the greatest verse in Quran. That's my goal. I hope, inshallah, will give me tawfiq. The first one, this is qa'idah. Remember this qa'idah. This is the rule. Ibn Qayyim said something absolutely amazing. He said, "Man kana billahi a'raf, kana lahu akhwaf." Man kana billahi a'raf, kana lahu akhwaf. That means if you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will be fearing Him. You will fear Him if you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that will take you to obeying Him and staying away from that which displeases Him. If you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This verse, it will introduce you more about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. That's why it's so powerful. And that's why Allah said, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. That means only those who know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they can fear Him. He didn't say يخاف, يخشى. You know what يخشى means? In Arabic, يخشى means fearing Allah. Why knowing Him? الخوف بالعلم. You understand? الخوف من الله بالعلم به. If you know Allah, then you're gonna يخشى. That means you're gonna because if you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're gonna fear Him, but you're gonna fear Him in a different way than someone fearing Allah without knowing Him. You understand? So when you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you fear Him, that's what the word يخشى. That's why Allah said, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِ الْعُلَمَاء. Only those who have a knowledge of Allah actually truly fear Him. It's very important. So that's why this verse is absolutely powerful. The first one, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. Let's dive into the word Allah. If I ask you Allah, what does Allah means? There are different meaning of it. The first one, الذي تأله القلوب. The one who adore Him. The one who the heart adore Him. That's what the word Allah. And Allah is one of the greatest name. أعظم الأسماء. One of the, they call him the, excuse me. He's أعظم أسمائي. Allah, one of the أعظم أسماء. I will talk about what أعظم أسماء means. So it's the one that the heart loves Him. Another meaning. Al-Ma'luh. That means Al-Ma'bud. The one is being worshipped. See, this is what you should teach your kid. When they ask, what does Allah means? Allah, the first meaning, this is all-inclusive, is the one that we love Him. That's another meaning. The second meaning, the one that we worship. The third meaning, من ألئ يأله أن يتحير. The one we are bedazzled with. We are marveled by Him. The one we say, oh, Subhanallah. When we say something like amazing, you say, wow, look what Allah had just created. Wow. And we do that when we read the Quran, when we contemplate, when we see something beautiful in nature, when something happens to us that is amazing, only Allah can do it, we say, wow. That's what ilah means. Bedazzlement. The fourth one is مأخوذ من أله تأله إلى كذا أي يلجأ. That means the one we run to. The one we run to for help. That's what the word samad actually is. As-samad, when we say قُلْ وَاللَّهُ أَحَدْ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدْ, as-samad is the one we all need His help, but He does not need our help. How many times we say samad, we don't even know what samad means. So that's what the word Allah, including all this, love, the worship, the one we run to, the one we amazed by Him. That's the word Allah. See that? Beautiful. When you say Allahu Akbar in Salat, you have to think what you're saying. Think about what you're saying. Then La ilaha, Allahu La ilaha illahu. If I ask, what is the word La ilaha illahu? This is the wrong translation. Please be careful with this. When I hear the word like there is no God but Allah, it is wrong. It is dead wrong translation. And the worst part is when you have someone does shahada and he comes, said, I'm going to enter Islam, and the person is telling him, say La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. That's the wrong translation. I gave explanation the word La ilaha illallah in Arabic from a grammar. It would probably take me half an hour just to explain word for word from a grammar why La ilaha illallah, there's no God, it is dead wrong. La ilaha illallah, I'm going to just give you simple translation. That means there is none worthy to worship except Allah. Because if you say there is no God except Allah, we have plenty of God on earth. You go to Hindu or you go to India, there is 1,000 gods that they worship. When you say there is no God but worship except Allah, that's wrong. There is no God that deserves to be worshipped except Allah. Right? Because La, I'm not going to go technical here, but La is called harf tanfi al-jins. That means it'll nullify all kind of gods. That's what that means. La ilaha. That means there is no God. I don't care what God is it. What kind of God? There is no God who deserves to be worshipped except Allah. So please pay attention to that translation. La ilaha illahu al-hayyu al-qayyum. I'm going to go now each verse and each phrase, and I'll explain. Another reason before I dive into this, one of the things amazing about the surah from the grammar, Allahu la ilaha illahu al-hayyu al-qayyum. You could say Allahu la ilaha illahu al-hayyu al-qayyum. Allahu la ta'khudhu sinatu wa la nawm. Allahu man dhal ladhi yashfa'. Allahu ya'lamu bayna aydihim. Allah wasi'. That means this Allah, you can actually, as one of the ulama says, you can actually place it behind each phrase because it's called al-mubtada wal-khabar. So Allah is the mubtada and khabar is every single phrase here that means subject of that Allah. That means this is the only verse where Allah has been mentioned explicitly as Allah or as damir, which is pronoun. It's amazing. Now again, I'm going very simple. I don't want to go into technical. So, Allahu la ilaha illa wal hayyul qayyum. Allah, there is none worthy to worship except Him. That is the correct translation of La ilaha illallah. And then I said, Al-Hayyu Al-Qayyum. Al-Hayyu, that means the one that has perfect, everlasting life. The one who gives life. That's what that means. Al-Hayyu Al-Qayyum. What is Al-Qayyum means? Al-Qayyum is another an Arabic thing, which is saygat mubalagha, which is extremely qa'im. Qa'im is the one who stands for himself. Al-qa'imu li nafsi wal-muqimu li ghayrih. This is what the true translation means. The one who stands for himself and stands for affair of all his creation. You know what that means, ya akhwani? When you go to sleep and you do this dua, I always think about this. You know, I'm getting up tomorrow. Man, I have so many problems. I have so many issues. I have this and I have that. And I'm like, you know, people lose sleep because of this. They take so many medication and all that. I want you just to do it tonight. When you go, Allahu la ilaha illahu wal hayyu al qayyum. I'm sleeping. He's awake. He doesn't sleep. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Right? And then you say, Al-Hayyu Al-Qayyum, the one who's looking after my affair. So while you're sleeping, who's looking after your bloodstream, your heartbeat? Who's getting stuff ready for tomorrow? Who's going to make sure you're going to wake up? You're going to have a job. You're going to have this. You're going to have that. Who's getting you all your provision? That's what Qayyum means. So when you're sleeping and you worry about everything, all your problem, say Al-Hayyu Al-Qayyum. That's it. That should give you some sense of peace and serenity, and hopefully it helps you get your anxiety out. Al-Hayy la ilaha illa huwa al-Hayy al-Qayyum. This phrase is mentioned in 3 surahs. Anybody can say it? What's the second surah? Ali Imran. The beginning of Ali Imran. It didn't say Al-Hayy al-Qayyum is also mentioned. The 3rd surah. Anybody? Surah Taha. Right? وعنت الوجوه للحي القيوم. This is the 3rd. So, من أسمائه تعالى الحي القيوم, as the ulama said, they have a long discussion about what is al-ism al-a'dam. لأن there's hadith, Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم, if you call him by the greatest name, your dua is accepted. By his greatest name. The question, what is his greatest name? There's many discussions among scholars. Is greatest name Allah or is it Hayy al-Qayyum? Those are the 2 strongest opinions. Some ulama said al-Ism al-A'zam is Allah. Some said al-Hayy al-Qayyum. The bottom line, if you combine them two, this verse, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-Qayyum, alhamdulillah, you're getting both of them. Right? And there is a dua that we all say, Adkar Sabah. Does anybody know that has Hayy al-Qayyum? يا حي قيوم برحمتك أستغيث اصلح لي شأني كله ولا تكلني إلى نفسي طرفة عين. Man, this is one of the dua you should never leave out. Wallahi, it will give you some peace in mind. You have issues, you have problems, you're prepared for something, and you're like, man, this is going to fail, or this is going to do this, or this is going to go wrong. Always make this dua. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك أستغيث. With your mercy, I seek your help. لا تكلني يا حي قيوم برحمتك. Right? يا حي قيوم برحمتك أستغيث. اصلح لي شأني كله. Fix all my affair. ولا تكلني إلى نفسي طرفة عين. Do not let me rely on myself. I'm relying on you. This is the true tawakkul dhikr. It has the word Hayyul Qayyum in the beginning. That's why ulama said, if you do that, then Allah will take care of you. Because you started with the greatest name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of them is Al-Hayyul Qayyum. All right, next one. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. A sinner is when someone is about to sleep and he starts dozing like this, right? Your eyes start closed. This is what dozing. It's called slumber. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. Subhanallah. I want you to reflect on this because this is what I call atadabbur also. When I share with you a verse, I want you to reflect on it because just don't memorize it. Because if I share with you the secret behind it, you're going to appreciate it and you're going to read it and read it and read it. It's going to give you more power, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال وهو الذي يتوفاكم بالليل ويعلم ما جرحت بالنهار. He's the one who puts you in death in night. In death in night. That means night, when you go to sleep, is a form of death. You follow me, right? It's a form of death. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. And he said right after, الحي القيوم. He just said الحي, that means the everlasting life, the one who has everlasting life. That means there's no way he dies because there's no beginning for him subhanahu wa ta'ala and there's no end. That's why he said لا تأخذ سنة ولا نوم right after this, because the one who's living cannot die. And the one who sleeps is a form of death. You follow how the two connected? It just makes more sense. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not die, he has everlasting life, it's a flaw for him to fall asleep. Because sleeping for us, for a human being, is one of the defects we have, because we fall asleep. And it's a form of maut, death. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly said this, how there's no way that sleep can take him over. And one of the subhanahu wa ta'ala قال الطبراني قال رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم النوم. I'm going to share with you something beautiful about this. There are three Three things or three creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Actually, two creation that they don't fall asleep. Who can tell me that? Two creations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they don't fall asleep. The first one, angels. The angels do not fall asleep. Who does not fall asleep? People of Jannah. People of Jannah, they do not fall asleep. And the third one is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the evidence of people of Jannah do not fall asleep? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was asked, and this hadith in Tabari, أَيَنَامُ أَهْلَ الْجَنَّةِ? The people of Jannah fall asleep? That's the question he was asked. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, النوم أخو الموت وأهل الجنة لا ينامون. الموت النوم أخو الجنة. That means sleep is a brother of the death. That's what he's saying. Because it's a form of death. And he said that people of Jannah, they will never sleep. Right? And you know the story of death, right? Death is gonna come as a sheep in Yawm al-Qiyamah, and it's gonna be slaughtered. And then that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gonna tell everyone, now you're khalideen. Wherever you are, you're forever. There's no more death, including this sleep. There's no sleep, subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right, so let's go to the next one. لَهُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. For him, and this is another translation I don't like. You hear some translation like, the heaven, earth belongs to him. Sometimes you hear this. When Arabic, when there's lahu comes in front, which is al-khabar muqaddam, that means for him only, this is adat al-hasr, that means for him only, exclusively, all the heaven, what's in heaven, earth belongs to him. For him exclusively. That's what the word lahu came first. And what does that mean? Ulama tafsir said, khulqan wa mulkan wa abidan. That means he owned the heaven, earth, you and I, from his creation. He created it. He owned it. He's the king. And all his creation are his slaves. That's what that means. He owned what's in heaven and earth. I want to make sure. 42, inshallah, we'll pray shuruq. I'm going to make it at 42 and then we pray. Then we have breakfast. So everything belongs to him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he created them and he's the king of everything. You and I and everything on heaven and earth and all of us, all the creation, whether it's a bird, whether it's animal, we're all his slaves. That's what that means. له ما في السماوات والأرض. And then he said, من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه. Who is the one can intercede with Allah except by his permission? من ذا الذي, rhetorical question. In Arabic means لا أحد يشفع بإذنه. There is no one can intercede without his permission. Even the Prophet ﷺ has to be given permission to intercede. You know the long hadith of Shafa'ah, right? يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء. He knows what's in front of them. I'm going to explain what this means. And what's behind them. And they do not encompass any knowledge except as he wish or as he will. You know what that means? That means he knows what's in front of them. That means what's coming. That means Jannah or some punishment, wal'iyadu billah, whatever it's coming, including akhirah. And what's behind them, what they have done, their sin, their deed, whatever they've done. Allah knows all that, right? And they cannot encompass any knowledge from him. No one knows the knowledge except he subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he might give you a little knowledge only to the one who he wills, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the strongest opinion about what that means. I'm going to share with you, this is so powerful. When you read Surah Al-Kahf, everybody reads Surah Al-Kahf, right? Okay. You know the story when Musa al-Khidr ride that little boat, right? after which, where Musa is going to destroy that boat. I want you to think about this hadith, in Hadith Bukhari. So when Musa and Khadir right there, a bird came up and put his beak just to get some water. Musa, Khadir told Musa, I want you to remember this phrase. He said, al-hadith said like that. فركب في السفينة قال فوقع عصفور على حرف السفينة. A bird came over the boat. فغمس منقاره البحر فقال الخضر. So he dipped to have some water. Al-Khadir told Musa, ما علمك وعلمي وعلم الخلائق في علم الله إلا مقدار ما غمس هذا العصفور منقاره. I want you to imagine this. This is like, imagine, I'm going to say an ocean, whatever you want to call it. The bird, put his beak, get some water, and Khadir told Musa, see that amount of water that the bird took? That's the knowledge you and I and all his creation in comparison to all the water that's in this ocean. That means the knowledge in ocean, that's the knowledge of Allah. And what the bird took from that water, that's the knowledge of all his creations. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Amazing. Amazing. Next one. وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. His throne, this is all about Allah. You notice the Hayy, al-Qayyum, he has this. It's all about Allah. It's all the greatness of Allah. That's why this ayah is so amazing. That is the greatest ayah. Another of his greatness, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that his throne extends over the heaven and earth. Right? وَلَا يُؤُدُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. That means all the heaven and earth and how he's looking after them, that doesn't burden him. It doesn't burden him at all. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, I'm just trying to keep this short. Al-Kursi, the word Kursi have a multiple opinion about ulama. The first opinion is the knowledge, and this is one of the opinion of Ibn Abbas. The next one is kingdom, another interpretation. The strongest opinion, Wallahu alam, it's his a footstep of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his footstep. There is hadith that Rasulullah says that the heaven and earth, in comparison to his footstep, it's like taking a ring and throw it in a desert. The heaven and earth as a ring, and you throw it in a desert. The desert, compared to the ring, is like the kursi to the heaven and earth. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the same hadith says, and kursi compared to his throne is like the ring thrown in the desert. His throne, which is the giant throne, it's like a ring to desert when it's compared to the throne. Arsh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahi, I mean, when you see this, you're like, wow. This is where is Allah. وَلَا يَؤُدُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. Basically, nothing burden him in protecting heaven and earth. The word Ali Azim, because we have 2 minutes and we're going to pray shuruq. Ali, this is a word that has so many other names that you can put underneath. This is what's called the greatest asma. There's some asma that have explicit meaning. There's some of them have other names that can go underneath it. This is one of them, Ali. Al-Ali, قالوا علماء, I'm putting it right there. علو ذات وعلو قدر وعلو قهر. That means when you hear the word Ali, it's not just physical Ali. It's also علو قدر. That means he has the highest honor, the highest power, the highest might. Right? And that's what ulu is. And subhanAllah, this word Ali, al-Azim, the great, it's almost like trying to summarize and conclude everything what we discuss. How he's great, how he has the power, how He has the might, how He has everything, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why, وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah, the conclusion is, takeaway, Ayat Kursi, there are 3 placements of it. You will hear it in Adhkar Sabah, Adhkar Masa. That's the first time you can do that. No, sorry. That's one of the time you can recite Ayat Kursi. The second one, after every Salat. And the third one is when? Before you go to sleep. Right? Remember, Ya Akhwani, read it and read it and read it and never overlook the Ayat Kursi. If you want to go to Jannah, you want to have a protection at night, and you want to get up Fajr, Ayat Kursi. Adhkar Sabah, Adhkar Masa, Ayat Kursi. It is the and teach it for your family and so forth. Inshallah, like I said, today just concise. We're going to discuss more of that in Tadabbur Quran later on, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Please join us for breakfast. We'll be plenty of food.